Check 1, 2, 3.
Oh, wait. I don't know what I did.
Check 1, 2, 2, 2. Okay. That's great. Okay. Yeah, if you're ready for people to come in. Let's finish the audio test and then we'll do it. So. Okay, audio check 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, check, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, check, 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 check. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. I am, yeah. Check. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Still not getting it? You think so? I wish I could. Yeah, weird. We're getting audio level up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. At least it's up here. I don't know if this is going to the stream or not, but.
Hello. Okay. Audio input. Audio output. Hello. Can you hear? Nothing down there? Okay. Anything right now?
Huh?
Anything on your end right now?
No,
No?
nothing on my end.
Okay. Hello. Hello.
Nothing.
Nothing. Vertical layout filters, properties.
Oh, we're getting something?
Hello? 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 Hello, hello? Hello, hello? Hello, hello? Hello, hello? Hello, hello?
I think I'm getting a little something.
Hello, hello, hello? You hear something coming through the speakers. You hear me speaking through the speakers.
Hold on. Let me close the door to make sure that you guys, it's not like I'm getting it from just the speakers.
You can hear me. You can hear me.
I was able to hear it for a second, but I don't know if it was coming from just the speakers. Would you be able to test it one more time?
Yeah, hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can
hear something coming through the speakers of the projector, I think.
Okay. Is it just like really quiet or? Hello, hello, hello.
We can hear you.
Cannot?
No, we can hear you. It's just coming through the projector.
Oh, not the big speakers? Is Aleko down there with you?
No. Yeah, he is. He's right here.
Oh, okay. So it's just not coming through the big speakers in the room.
No, it's coming like late too, I think.
Hello? Oh, I actually think there was a delay. Let me turn the delay off. Advanced audio properties. Sync offset. Okay. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello. Is he working on something, Isaac?
Yeah, he's working on something right now.
Okay. Hello.
You trying to get that overflow?
Yeah, the overflow is what we're trying to get to work right now. Let me know when Aleko is done, Isaac.
Yeah, he's in the other room right there. Oh.
Hello? Hello?
No.
Hello, 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 hello.
The projector stopped displaying, but
Oh, did my computer turn on? Did my computer turn off?
no, you're good, you're good.
Hello.
Coming through the computer.
Hello, hello.
There's Ken.
Yep. Is it, do you want to ask Aleko what he's doing? Is he just trying
He's wondering what's going on. Hold on. I can just put you on speaker. You want to be on speaker?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. We were just hearing you through the speakers on the projector, but I rebooted everything.
Hello. 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 Hello, hello, hello. 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 Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello.
Oh?
Hello, hello. I'm speaking into the microphone. Oh! Is that it? Did we get it?
It's still coming through just the projector. Oh.
Hello? 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 Hello, hello, hello. Hello? 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 Are you hearing me down there, Isaac?
I'm just hearing it through the projector.
Just through the projector, not through the speakers.
Yeah, I'm just hearing it through the projector. Do you want this room open so people can come in? Or while we figure this out, do you want this closed?
Yeah, open the door. Open the door while we continue to do testing. Like, leave the door open. So is Aleko still working on the speakers?
Yeah, he's still working on stuff.
Okay. 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 Hello. Okay. Okay.
Full clarity, but it is a little bit of
If you need to touch my computer, you can. Let me know if you need to touch it.
Oh, that goes on it.
Okay. We almost got this. This is the literal last thing that needs to be done, and then things can start moving.
Question for you.
Yes.
Well, the people on the wait list that are downstairs, if they get up on like the wait list, are we just gonna like send them an email? Is that what's supposed to happen, or something?
Ideally, we'll be able to recognize them so we can go and grab them. Probably at this point, getting a phone number would be the best thing to do. Then we can give them a text or a call.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Let me know. I'm still speaking into the microphone. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Into the microphone. Microphone, microphone, microphone. Test, 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 test. Test, test, testing, test, test, testing, test, testing. Sound. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello.
We're not getting like anything. She's been gone for a second now. She's testing.
Here, let me see if I can. Hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. 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 Isaac. If you unplug my computer from the HDMI, is it playing out of my laptop speakers?
It was playing out of the laptop speaker earlier. She was wondering if it's still playing if the HDMI is unplugged. Was it? Do you know?
Because if you can hear the sound when the HDMI is unplugged, I think it's an issue with the speakers in the meeting room.
We switched it. We switched it over to like an audio output, like a jack.
Oh, a jack. Okay.
Yeah, so it's hooked up to the microphone port. Would you be able to try it again?
Hello, 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 hello. Because I'm on my phone and I'm hearing us.
Like from me?
From my phone. I'm watching the stream and I'm hearing us.
Oh, it's not playing at all. We're not getting anything over here.
Even when like you unplug my computer, like it doesn't play out of the laptop speakers.
No, we can try to unplug it real quick. Hold on, I like us doing something real quick.
Because it sounds fine on my phone. I'm watching the stream on my phone.
Yeah, I think it's working on the stream. It's just like
It's
an issue with connecting here.
down there, yeah.
Yeah.
I think if it's an issue with down there, I think I might open the auditorium for right now. Hello, 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 hello. Hello. Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, we're not getting anything.
Hello. Hello, hello, hello.
Nothing yet.
I can see if I could get another laptop if I need to, but I can see if I can get another laptop if I need to.
Like to just play the speaker or play it out the speakers?
No, just go get another laptop
To
to
see if
play it
it's,
off
like,
of.
the issue with the laptop.
But it shouldn't be, but
Yeah, that could probably work. Honestly, I think the speaker would work. Yeah. He's gonna bring in a speaker that we're just gonna hook it up to, like the audio.
okay. As long as people can hear, that's all I care about. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the stream delay. Turn off the stream. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Is he getting the speaker still?
Yeah, he's still getting the speaker.
Okay. Okay, okay, okay.
Are you opening doors up there?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I just wanted to at least get this ready. I'm gonna wait like one more second. Okay. Apply. Okay, 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 okay. Hi. We can start letting people in.
Are you sure?
Yeah. We're still trying to get audio downstairs, so we can't let direct people down here quite yet, but we should have that soon. Okay. Okay, auditorium is
the hell-
open for now.
Okay. But no one can go in. Okay, you got your tickets, you booked?
I'll come help in just a sec. Hey, you guys have tickets, right? Flash your tickets. Oh, okay. Yeah, there, you should see seats with reserved. Testing. How's it going?
If you're able, in a little bit, would you be able to give like when I ask, would you be able to give a welcome and announcement over the speaker or on the microphone?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, just as like a test.
Yeah. Testing.
No, I don't think she is right now. They're letting people in, so we're just like let me know when you do a run test. Okay, you can do it at any time.
Test, test. Test, test. Oh, yes. I'm testing. I'm gonna take it up to the harpist because she's playing. Oh, it worked? Wait. Okay, I think we're good. Test. One more test. Testing. Good. Sound good, Isaac? Amazing. Yay. Okay, come back up.
You need to go?
Yes.
Okay.
They, just to give you an FYI, their line is all the way down to the safety office and back. So I don't know if there's much of a chance of them starting. But
Thanks for helping.
Hello, everybody. We're gonna, there are a bunch of vacant seats. We're trying to make sure that everyone that supported us over these past 2 months and bought a book got their book and their seat. If the seats in your row next to you are empty and available, could you please raise your hand? Wow, where are all those people? Now, how am I ever, Natalie, I don't know how to count all those hands. Okay, we're going to let folks from the overflow come in here. A lot of people said, well, I won't name the name, this media, that media, they didn't say you had to have a ticket. Guess what? As far as I know, I don't control the media. Nor would I want to. So the deal is, if you, insofar as we know what we're doing, sign up on your way out. If you're not, on the Ken Sanders rarebooks.com mailing list, then you'll get it straight from the horse's mouth or other part of the anatomy. So give us 5 minutes so we can seat everyone. There's no real hurry, and since you're all here, you are all invited back to the shop. A very short walk across Library Square in the now 5-story, 100,000 square foot dead building except for me. Newsflash, I ain't moving again. Me and my books are staying there till I drop dead. So Lindsay will entertain you for 5-ish minutes or so, and then we'll let the program begin. Hit it, Lindsay. One last announcement about the empty seats. Raise your hand if you've got empty seats next to you, please. They still got a few to fill up. I see 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's about a dozen on the far right. On this left, right, how many empties? 1, 2, 3. 3 in the middle. I don't know. Middle, how many empties in the middle? 2 by you, 3, not very many. 2, 3. I'd say you got 15 empties, Natalie. Maybe 15, Natalie. Natalie, there are 2 left, far left, 2 seats, so singles, 2 singles, far left. There are 2 pairs, far right, 2 pairs, far right. Do you have some seating music, Maestro? Okay, all right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Finally, we're gonna get started. I feel very privileged to have Terry Tempest Williams here among us this evening, as I'm sure all of you do. We thought we had this event under control, but you proved us wrong. But my mission statement on the, corporate mission statement, I am a corporation, is creating chaos out of anarchy for a better tomorrow. That's what we're doing here tonight. Terry and I are going to be in conversation later, so I'm not really going to say anything now other than what I have, except please welcome Terry Tempest Williams.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. I just want to look at you all and just say, this is where I belong. And it's wonderful to share this evening with you. And Ken, I love you. I don't know how many people know this, but I've known Ken longer than Brooke, and that's over 50 years. And Ken and I worked at Sam Weller's bookstore. Ken was the most radical person I had ever met. He was the scariest person I had ever met. I was very intimidated. He was in the back room, and he would tell stories and jokes, and, he'd be raging, and then he'd be laughing, and it was the most exciting place to be. And then I saw his heart and realized this is such a tender-hearted man who is so generous and will change the world. And the truth is, you've changed all of our lives. And will you join me in really honoring and thanking Ken? We always said we hoped we grew old together, and we have. So I just want to say thank you again. I want to honor Brooke, my partner for over 50 years, and my brother Hank, who's here, who is a big part of this story. He lived with us for several months in the spring when the pandemic began. He had COVID, and that's what love looks like. We had to be together, and it was really one of the most beautiful times being in the desert with Hank and seeing his strength and how he gave Brooke and I that added strength. I also want to acknowledge my niece and great niece and nephews, and thank you for being here, and all of the family members that I told Ken needed seats. But in Utah, we're all related, so it was the truth. Thank you to the Salt Lake Public Library. I think this is one of the most beautiful spaces we have in the city, and so grateful. Thank you, Lindsay, for your beautiful harp music. Where are you? Yeah, just so beautiful. And in a few moments, we'll be hearing from Phil Trebolo with the soprano sax. So both of you are Glorians. Also, thank you to the Film Center, Utah Film Center, for helping us in the overflow. And to those of you who are there, we thank you and all of your patience. I'm nervous tonight. This really is the first official reading, and it seems apt that it's in Salt Lake. This tells you how dear Ken is to me. Several months ago, when we were imagining what this might look like, he said, "Terry, I just have one question. What is a Glorian?" And I said, "Ken, please believe me when I say I'm not sure." And he goes, "That's perfect." We are all dreamers. My grandmother, Catherine Black at Tempest, ensured in us 9 grandchildren that we knew that. It was wonderful staying overnight at her house. It was also terrifying because we all slept late, because we knew at breakfast around her buckwheat pancakes that we would be asked what dreams we had. And sometimes there'd be 2 of us that stayed overnight. When it was single, I really slept quite late because I didn't know what she would tell us. One story that I remember is I had one really vivid dream, numinous dream, and I got up early because I was excited to share that with her. And as we were sitting for breakfast, she said, "Terry, did you have a dream last night?" And I said, "Oh, Mimi, it was amazing. I was walking across the street, Commonwealth, to Martha Young's house. She was my best friend, 2 years older. I went over to see her, but no one was home. I went around the back because I knew they unlocked that, and the sliding doors were open. I walked in, I stood up on the stone hearth, and as I was standing there, a great horned owl landed on my shoulder. And she said, 'Oh, darling, you're about to menstruate.'" And I thought, this was not the news I wanted, you know. But she taught us how to pay attention and to have a pad of paper and pencil by our bedstand and to write down the dream the best we could, and then in the morning look at the symbols and ask ourselves, what do they mean to us? What do they mean collectively? And it changed us. Something interesting happened when I finished this book and it was sent to the publisher. And then I remembered maybe the most important thing, that when I was 18 years old and went to the University of Utah, I took a writing class. It was a poetry writing workshop. It was a visiting professor named Robert Mezzi. And there were 12 of us around the table. And he said, "All of you want to be writers, poets. Most of you won't, a few of you will. But here's the most important thing you must never forget." And we all leaned forward and had our pens ready to write down the truth. And what he said was, "Never, ever write about a dream." And my 18-year-old self registered that as a protest. And it took me 50 years to write about a dream. The dream I had was this. It was March 20th, 2020, a week after lockdown, Friday the 13th, global pandemic. I had just come back from Cambridge. Brooke and I were in Castle Valley. Hank was on his way. And the dream I had, I was walking across Harvard Yard. It was fall, it was resplendent, red maples, bronze oaks. I knew I had to get to the tower. There is no tower. I turned, the tower is over here, and I walked toward it and I realized I have two choices. I can walk directly up the tower to the top, or I could go to the side, which was a spiral staircase. I chose the side, went around the spiral staircase, around and around. When I finally got to the top of the tower, I realized I was standing in Cassandra's temple ruins. I had the distinct feeling that I had forgotten something. I heard my name called. I turned. There was a woman professor who went up the direct path of the stairs with students behind her, and the gate was locked. And she said to me, "Terry, do you remember the vow you made to us?" And I said, "Remind me." And she said, "Your vow is the epic documentation of the Glorians." And then I woke up, and I thought, what is a Glorian? Pad and paper by the bedstand, in the dark, I wrote, "The epic documentation of the Glorians." And it's been this 6-year journey, add 7, because I went back to the first year before the pandemic, to really think about what is the epic documentation of the Glorians. What is a Glorian? I remember looking at Google first, like we all do, and nothing. I went into the dark bowels of the web, and finally I found a Kenyan dictionary that said that it was a name, boy or girl, gender fluid, one who is attracted to beauty. The next year, and I just kept living with it, thinking, what is a Glorian? What is a Glorian? Beauty, attention, I don't know. And the next year, I looked again, and voila, in the Urban Dictionary it said, Glorian, one who hoards toilet paper. And I thought, this is not the vow I wanted to make. And then I saw a Glorian. In late spring, fierce winds converged in our valley in the Red Rock Desert, a reliable occurrence that has shaped this erosional landscape. The winds are particularly strong one morning in May. I'm outside admiring the coyote willow draped in magenta flowers, each one resembling a snapdragon blossom, only larger, the length of my index finger. Suddenly, a swoop of wind, our stone patio is strewn with flowers. They are too lovely to let lie, so I decide to gather them and bring them inside. I get a basket from the kitchen. When I return to the patio, the wind has blown most of the blossoms away. I bend down to pick one up, only to see it move. Not only does it move, it has legs. I realize the blossom is being transported by an ant. This wee little being appears as a small black boat with a large pink sail above its 6-legged body. I follow it. What else does one have time for in the pandemic? For close to half an hour, I walk behind the ant as it carries a petal clutched in its mandibles and moves across the patio at a quick and steady pace. It continues down the stone path from our porch, then sets off across the red sand, where I can see in the distance a thriving ant colony emerging from the desert floor like a raised fist. Each time a breeze comes up, threatening to blow the tiny ant over, a pair of attending ants appear to hold the ant steady, then disappear. Each time the ant is about to cross a perilous path facing cracks between stones, again a pair of ants appear to ferry the ant across the chasm, and again disappear. The ant continues on its mission, projecting its strange shadow ahead as it approaches a wide patch of prickly pear. I think surely this will be its demise, the flower impaled by a spine. And then, miraculously, 3 ants appear to help lift the blossom above, around, over the cacti, and once again, in the open ground, they vanish. When the ant finally arrives at the ant colony, I watch it slowly climb up the hill with the magnificent blossom intact. The ant reaches its destination, pauses, then lays the flower down at the entrance of the home, where it is instantly met by dozens upon dozens of workers who, in a frenzy of purpose, cut the flower into tiny pieces, each one carrying a part of the pink blossom down into the chambers, where I imagine they are lining the pathway to the queen. What is a glorian? The ant carrying a coyote blossom across the desert is a glorian, the holy ordinary. A glorian is an encounter. A glorian is a meeting with Elan Vital, when 2 attentions meet and we're aware of something larger than ourselves. A glorian is a moment of grace. I just want to read 2 short pieces as part of the epic documentation of the glorians. The book is in 3 parts. The dream, which I've just shared with you, the return, going back to Cambridge to teach at Harvard, and then home, returning home in the desert. And the last one is called The Processions. This is called Empty Bowls, and these are short pieces, and then Ken and I will talk. It took a global pandemic to call us home. I see Virga on the horizon, streamers of rain that will never reach the ground, just like my expectations. I've been thinking about marriage. Brooke and I are in a long one. And in this pause, there have been times when it has felt too long. How to define what a marriage is, what our marriage is in its full emotional range, from bliss 1 minute to a cascading loneliness the next, with everything in between. What we don't have is boredom. Marriage is our embrace of a deep, abiding partnership born out of a generative commitment to stay together. We are a partnership that allows growth and freedom, a partnership that protects one another's solitude, as Rilke has said, a partnership small enough to make mistakes and large enough to house forgiveness, and a partnership secure enough, honest enough to fight well and hold each other close in the same day, trusting a softening of the hearts will occur. A partnership where humor resides, respect is earned, and kindness toward each other becomes an ongoing practice. Marriage evolves over time if it is to remain alive. Marriage is carrying 2 chairs down to the river to remember life flows forward, and carrying the same chairs back home, tired of routine. Marriage is elemental, like earth, water, fire, and air. Each element supports the whole, but alone any one of these can destroy the other. Water cuts through earth. Earth does not exist without water. Fire burns until it rains, and when the rains come, life breathes again. A partnership in marriage can be both a cruelty and a healing, a touching of bone and a transcendence of bodies burning in flames, a life of choosing one another again and again and again. Dust storms come in times of drought, and we lose sight of where we are, but so do the rains. The smell of sweet sage is strong. Our marriage in the pandemic is asking us to carry empty bowls from the kitchen to the porch, where rainwater will fill them and quench the thirst of doves and jays, sparrows and larks, jackrabbits and deer, while our wrinkled bodies dance naked in the downpour. And this one is for Great Salt Lake. Whether we believe it or not, rapid change is upon us. I am searching for grace. If the facts don't matter anymore, and misinformation does, if we fail to listen to the indigenous wisdom of First Nations, and we remain unmoved by another way of being in right relationship to the earth, And if the stories and statistics scientists are bringing to us do not stir us to action on behalf of a living world that is suffering, and if the lives of our children and the future of their children's children are not first in our minds and thwarting the easy sleep of our privilege, then the question must be asked, are we too dead to the world to feel alive? Believe the long-legged birds who are circling above us, desperately looking for water. Believe the forests that are burning, whose surviving trees will later stand as sentinels, charred witnesses to animal bodies reduced to ash. Believe in flash floods roaring through burnt canyons, gathering debris in rivers running black in the desert, even in times of drought, especially in times of drought. Believe Great Salt Lake is retreating in plain sight, leaving what's left to the dust devils, whipping up clouds of chemicals resting on the dry lake bed so we can inhale the toxic world we have created. Believe in the once shimmering bodies of water on the horizon that are now nothing more than a mirage made of heat waves, death dancing on the salt flats. Believe in the silences. Before we can save this world we are losing, we must first learn to savor what remains. This is more than an ecological crisis or a political crisis. It is a spiritual one. The earth will survive us. We are the ones being baptized by fire.
So I'm going to take this opportunity, I forgot to do this earlier, obviously thank Terry and Brooke for being here tonight and doing this. Lindsay, the cowgirl harpist, I met her at the winter farmers market that the city has let moved into the old library building where my bookstore is. Every Saturday, some 2,000 plus people descend on the place, and they love my bookstore, and it like doubles our sales. I don't know how to get 2,000 people to come to my bookstore. Terry, I probably could if I could get Terry every day. But my hardworking staff, Travis and Ashley and Esther and Keely and Isaac and Gabby, and a special shout out to Natalie Corey, who's worked her butt off making this event happen, making the overflow auditorium work tonight, except I'm not quite certain. I think we got everybody in. I don't know how that's physically possible. I can't do this by myself, and my extraordinary staff is a blessing for me. And lastly, now being so close to the Salt Lake City Public Library that I have so many fond memories of, and how nice they are to work with, how lovely this Nancy Tessman Auditorium is. We did with Alex Caldiero, the sonosopher who passed about a month ago. I'll give you one quotation. A whole bunch of you people know who the sonosopher is, Alex Caldiero. His passing is like an extinction event. He's the only sonosopher in the world. The species has vanished from the planet. It rains even on those who are already wet. Think about it. And the farmer's market ends March 15th. I have only gone to the grocery store twice since November because I just buy everything I eat. I like buying stuff from people who raise it, grow it, make it. The cowgirl harp is how I met her at the farmer's market. She and her husband, the bee man, and her lovely daughter, June, the most precocious 7-year-old I ever met in my life. She gets a free book every Saturday when she comes. She says to her mom, she's helping her set up. She's got her little tip jar out there busking. She plays the harp sometimes at the market. And Juniper says, Mom, you know, I've done a lot of work and I sung on that one song with you. I think it'd be fair if we split the tips. It's a beautiful thing, the market is, but it does end March 15th. Phil? Saxophone, Phil, calling Mr. Sax.
Oh, boy. I volunteered to play at sunrise for Perry's talk and ceremony down in Castle Valley, and there were already people playing for that, so he graciously allowed me to play here. This is a Sun Singer by Paul Winter.
I had to give him a hug. That was
Okay, I'm going to open. Kidding. People would pay good money not to hear me sing or play an instrument. We could do a fundraiser. It would be a great fundraiser. Because you would pay quickly and a lot. Terry, you brought up us working at Sam Weller's together. It was a lifetime ago, or two.
It was. It was.
So I worked for Sam probably 5 different times, and he fired me 10 different times. Look, I know the math doesn't add up, but it's a true story.
I remember you and Susan Van Wagner. I learned a lot from the two of you, listening. So
Sam would give me so many little 3x5 index card notes of things to do that I didn't have a shirt that didn't have the pocket, the stitching split out of it. And Sam, the phone would ring too many times. Is anybody going to answer that phone? I'll get it.
So,
You could tell if Sam was in the building, the David Keith building, 254 South Main, or not, by just the lack of turbulence in the atmosphere of the store, right?
what I remember about Sam Weller is that he always had a basket of science fiction behind the counter. And when unhoused people would come in or walk by, he would give them a story, a book. And I remember saying, Sam, why science fiction? And he said, because it takes them to another world. And I've never forgotten that.
Well, I was a teenager when I first worked for Sam, and Sam, despite being those days Sam Weller's Zion bookstore, Sam kept a bottle of Walker's Deluxe in the bottom file cabinet drawer in the back room. Every Friday, I had to go over to the Third South liquor store, and I won't go into detail, but those of you old enough, you had to pencil in, hand a note, put the booze in paper sack, only could pay cash, and I always looked 10 years older than I am. I'm old enough to be Terry's father.
No, you're not.
But I would insist that if I had to be the errand boy, Sam had to share the Walker's Deluxe with me.
I worked on Friday nights with a man named Claire Wonke. And when it would get really slow, he'd say, Terry, do you want to go down in the basement and just sign some books? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, oh, it's a little slow. Sam needs a little extra money. Why don't we just go into the classics? Do you want to be Charles Dickinson, or do you want to be... And I remember saying, Claire, we can't do that. And he goes, try me. And we would go down there and sign all the books of the authors' names. So be careful with those signatures.
Like most of us, Sam was a complicated man.
I loved him.
So, man, we don't have to be chronological, do we? Can we do time slipping like Vonnegut?
I think we already are.
Oh, who knew? I didn't know. I wanna. So, back in, oh lordy. Chronology's out the window. 1989, the March 14th was the day Edward Abbey died. I was in Hong Kong printing the Edward Abbey Western Wilderness Calendar. I guarantee you, I was the only person on that island that knew who the hell Edward Abbey was. So, yourself, late Ranger Stiles, Jim Stiles, Arches National Monument, who as a child read Desert Solitaire and hitchhiked out here from Kentucky. The Ranger, and yourself and Brooke and me, with Clark Abbey's permission, we did a wake north of the park. We didn't want to bother with the paperwork. And I think Brooke would remember. I think Brooke told, because you guys chased around and found, because we can't have a gas-operated generator at Abbey's wake. So you found a battery-operated one, or Brooke did. So I think he went down early. You picked Wendell Berry up at the airport and brought him to my house. And then the next morning, the three of us drove down to Moab. Now, other than a trip to see Chuck Bowden in Tucson a long, long time ago, and the grocery line I stood in today to get stuff for the party, this is the longest time it's ever taken me to get to Moab in my life, because we couldn't go 5 minutes. Spares, stop the car, because Terry had seen another bird. I felt like I tried to practice my best Zen about it. It just, the minute you opened your mouth, I just pulled the car over, and you'd show Wendell and I whatever the hell bird it was. But boy, howdy did that take a long time. And we're down there where it really gets good. You've left Price and Wellington, and the Book Cliffs are coming up on you on the left. And slowly by slowly, the San Rafael is on the right, and they're almost to a point where you get on a lucky, clear day, you can see the La Salles, the Abajos, and the Henry Mountains in one view. Terry, stop the car, stop the car. Oh, no, wait, sorry, I'm telling the story out of order. Wendell Berry, in that stretch of highway, you know, I surely would like to see me a golden eagle. Then, stop the car, stop the car. Sitting on a goddamn fence post. The Book Cliffs framed behind it is a golden eagle. A Wendell, who's a very long, lanky man, insisted on sitting in the back seat so Terry could have shotgun. Wendell and I exchanged glances with one another. We both looked at Terry. We looked back at each other. No one said a word, but it's like, how in God's name does that woman do that? I still don't know.
It actually was a magpie.
Then there was that time at Pack Creek. I don't, the full moon outside.
This isn't what I bargained for, all these terrible stories.
You said this morning I could say anything I want.
It's true.
Quote.
I'm not
unquote.
going to argue with you.
So Pack Creek Ranch, midnight, full moon. I don't know what in God's name we were doing there, but she had 100 people outside on all fours howling at the moon.
It was a writer's retreat. You know, in these uncertain times, I just want to say the gathering is the thing, right? I mean, that's what I feel. You know, everything you're talking about, whether it was Abby's wake, whether it was an eagle at Wendell's command, whether it's, this is my favorite Ken story, that when Tim DeChristopher, whom we all know and love, who bought oil and gas leases and
Bitter
served,
70.
Yeah, Bitter 70, that spent 2 years in a federal prison. When he was out on parole, I remember Brooke and I went to visit him, and he said, yeah, I've got to get a job. And, you know, no one really wants to hire someone like me. And I said, well, do you have a job? And he said, I do. And I said, what is it? And he said, I'm working at Ken Sanders' books. You know, I love that.
That's not the whole story, though. Tim DeChristopher, those of you who don't know, was a University of Utah student 10, 15 years ago, I forget. And they were doing a protest at BLM oil and gas leases in a blizzard in downtown Salt Lake. And Tim walked inside, and the woman said, are you here as a bidder? And Tim said, yes, I am. And he became Bidder 70. And he proceeded to raise his paddle and make fake bids on over $2 million worth of BLM oil and gas leases. Now, Tim didn't have the money. Now, little background on BLM oil and gas leases. They've been going on for, I don't know, close to 100 years. I don't know that there's ever been a BLM oil and gas lease. They always have deadbeat bidders. But Tim DeChristopher was the first and only person in history to be I've lost my word for
A
it.
bitter.
So he ended up spending, got a 2-year federal prison sentence. And when he got out, the job thing, you forgot one important part. The Unitarian Church had been very, very highly supportive of Tim. And they set up a job for him first, before my job. And they said, okay, we're making you the director of social justice. The DOJ happened to be in town at that time. And they said, oh no, that's your crime. You can't do that. And that's when he became,
That's interesting.
I became his warden. He showed up first day of work, reporting for duty, sir, wearing a Edward Abbey R. Crumb Monkey Wrench Gang t-shirt. Clearly, my bookstore is a much more wholesome environment for this notorious criminal than the Unitarian Church. One last thing. Tim went on from my employ to going to Harvard Graduate Divinity School. I doubt there's anybody that's gone from federal prison to Harvard Divinity School directly before.
I think they've just gone from Harvard to prison. Or at least in Larry Summers' case, just resigned. But we're not talking politics, right? You know, one thing that comes to my mind is just, this is the history of Salt Lake, you know, one of the histories. And I think it's important to realize, you know, I think we always are underestimated in Utah. And I think with the lake, we're seeing what activism looks like. We're seeing, as Tim said, what love looks like. Whether it's the making of waves of young activists that are making our legislators uncomfortable, doubting that that should continue, when in fact, every time they have to cross those waves, their conscience is there. And I think we're seeing beautiful changes. Even with our president, who now is the ally, one of the allies of Great Salt Lake. And I think if we're saying all hands on deck, it includes Donald Trump's hands as well. And I think it's a learning experience for me, because, you know, that's hard for me to swallow, if I'm honest. But on the other hand, isn't that what we want? Is that we want this kind of awareness so that Great Salt Lake becomes all of our lakes. And I really think, as Ben tells us, you know, there's never been a lake a saline lake that has crossed a threshold that's come back. But I really think we can do this, each in our own way with the gifts that are ours. And I think one of the impulses to follow up with this dream, to remember a vow that I'd forgotten, is that Great Salt Lake, for me, is a Glorian. That those of us in this room, we've known her at floodwaters, and now we've lived long enough to see her in retreat. And what does that mean spiritually, to be in retreat? How do we gather ourselves? Tonight we've gathered ourselves. How do we gather ourselves spiritually at a time where everything is so uncertain and when there's so many inhumane acts that we are witnessing? What does a humane act look like even for our own home ground? And so I think this is this beautiful moment to gather ourselves, to retreat into our deepest selves so that we can honor the lake that has given us our own lives here, whether it's the birds, 12 million migrating birds, or whether it's the snow, or whether it's the sunsets, or whether it's this whole ecosystem, both human and wild, that is ours. I mean, to me, Great Salt Lake is a Glorian. And I think the Glorians are reaching out to us, and they are inviting us to engage, that we can create another world that is not only possible but necessary. And I think that is the impetus for this book, that came out of, you know, the dream time. And I think that that's what goes back to that sense that we're all dreamers. how do we dream another world into being? How do we dream another world into seeing? And I think it's the full range of possibilities. How do we proceed both in heartbreak and love? That's the challenge.
Terry, you are a magical human being. For as long as I've known you, I've always known that. When you published Refuge, an unnatural history of place, that book is so powerful, using the metaphors of your own family as downwinders and the refuge that the lake gave to you, but how you approached that, how you dealt with the last chapter in the book, the clan of one-breasted women. At age 30 years old, Terry's mom, her grandma, her great aunts, virtually all, you can correct me if I'm wrong, all the women in her life were dead, mostly because of being downwinders. And she became the matriarch of her family at age 30. That book is so powerful. It resonates. And that's the magic that's just in you, that you can make believers out of all of us.
That is, thank you for saying that. I will tell you the other side of the story, since we're sharing other sides of the story. When Refuge was finished, I was so nervous that it would be read as gossip in our ward. And I called my father and I said, Dad, I'm so worried, that this could be read as gossip, and I just hope I haven't hurt the family. And he said, don't worry about it. No one's going to read it anyway. And I think it's family that informs us. Just the other night, I gave him a copy of The Glorians, and he looked at it, and he read a little bit, and he looked at it again, and he read a little bit, and then he looked at me and he goes, Terry, every writer deserves a clunker. And he is a Glorian. And I thought, you know what? No bad review can touch me now after that, But it does come down to family. And Sarah, I want to say to you, my niece is here. And I think so often we're in the middle of the stories. We don't know what story we're telling. We don't know what story is chasing us. But then there are these moments, and this was a Glorian. We were taking, I've been at the Harvard Divinity School, and my one dream there was to bring, 18, 20 students from the Harvard Divinity School to Great Salt Lake. A very different atmosphere than in Cambridge. And the students came, and I'm looking at you, Thomas, who was one of those students coming home with me, both of us native Utahns. And we were told, my father, 92, called me and said, Terry, there's 80-mile-per-hour winds coming, and you better take care. We happened to be out at the sun tunnels, which, as you know, is very far away and not a lot of trees. And so I thought I better call, our students were exploring, and I thought I better call the ranger at Antelope Island and let them know where we are. So I climbed a knoll, which is about this tall, to get coverage, told them where we were. And when I turned around, there were no students, gone. And I thought, this is like the Andromeda strain. What am I going to say to Harvard? The 18 students disappeared. And the winds were howling. And I just saw these 4 tunnels and no one. And all of a sudden, the wind died down just a little, and I could hear singing. And I followed the music. And in one of the sun tunnels, head, feet, lined up 18 students inside one sun tunnel singing with the wind. It was such a beautiful moment of paying attention, and that if we're present, we'll know what to do. That was a magical moment. The next magical moment is when we were leaving, moving the other direction to Wendover. Sarah called, and she had just finished for a second time, I think, Sarah, refuge, and talked about what that meant. And that in that moment, it was 3 generations of my mother, myself, and Sarah joining in that moment, in that landscape, at that exact time. And I thought, wind is spirit, and my mother's spirit was circling us in that moment. Again, another Glorian. So I think we're in this moment where we don't have words. How do we describe where we are? And I think our unconscious is giving us new words. And I think, what does that mean to pay attention to those words that come to us in the night or with a slip of the tongue, so that we're developing another vocabulary to be able to describe who we are and where we are at this particular time.
Could you, back to refuge, do you mind sharing the experience that you shared with me way back then about after the book was published, you got a letter?
That's really personal.
You don't have to talk about it. It's okay. I can think of another question. It's okay. You can say no, Terry.
I know, but you brought it to us, and I trust that. Because it's really a story about trust and being in hard places. This is why I love Ken, because you demand the truth. Hugh Pinnock, I don't know how many of you know him. He was a dear family friend, a really close family friend. If in Mormon culture you can have a godfather, it would be Hugh Pinnock for us. He and my father were raised together. He and my mother were very close. As she was dying, he would come in and she would say, "Please go out, I can't afford to laugh," because it would hurt her from the surgery. When Refuge was finished, I felt it was really important that we give a copy to Hugh, that he knew what was coming, because there were some parts that could be viewed as critical or subversive. Case in point, I'm talking about God the Father, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Ghost. I asked the question, where's the Holy Mother? And so things like that. Anyway, my father gave it to him, and Hugh called, and Dad said, "Do you see any problem? Do you think Terry will be excommunicated?" And he said, "No, absolutely not. It's a wonderful story. Don't worry." About a month later, Refuge had come out, and I picked up the phone, and he said, "Hugh, it's Terry." And he said, "It's Elder Pinnock." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "Is Brooke there?" And I said, "Sure, but how are you doing?" He said, "I need to talk to Brooke." And then he said to Brooke, "I would like to see Terry in my office next week." So that was curious, and I thought, maybe I'm going to be excommunicated. I went to his office. He was wonderful. Angel Moroni was in the background. And then he said, "Terry, there are those of us who feel that you have crossed a line with this book." And he said, "But there are others of us that feel you've done a wonderful thing, and we want to thank you." And then I got nervous. And then he said, "I want to read you a proclamation." And it said, he read it, and it said, "Terry Tempest Williams and Brooke Williams, born out of noble lineage." And then he had a litany of all the women in my family from 6 generations. Diane Dixon Tempest, Catherine Blackett Tempest, Letty Romney Dixon, Louis Mabon Dixon, Florian Kazare Blackett, all the way back, Mamie Kumstrong Tempest. And then it said, "Will you become a mother of Zion? Or will you too become an endangered species like you have so carefully written about?" And I looked up at him, and he said, "Or will you become barren like the desert you write about?" And I looked at him and I said, "Hugh, you know our family history of when women got pregnant, they had cancer. And he said, I have your medical records, and you are more at risk of breast cancer if you don't have children. And he handed me my medical history from the Mayo Clinic. And then I said, when I was working with the Dene, the Navajo, they presented me with an alternative, that there could be corn mothers who give birth to physical children. And there are rainbow mothers who give birth to ideas. And I said, Brooke and I choose to be a rainbow mother. And then he said, may I give you a blessing? And he gave me a blessing, and that will remain private. But I knew he was under pressure. I knew he was under pressure by the brethren to confront me. And we hugged. I told him I loved him. And I called Brooke. I was completely disoriented. It was raining. I couldn't find my car. I finally did. And then he presented, I forgot this, he presented Brooke and I with our genealogy, this thick, as a gift from the church, on literally golden plates. And when I drove back to Immigration Canyon, where we were living, Brooke said, are you excommunicated? And I said, no, but if we make love right now, I know we will have quadruplets. This is not a story I wanted to tell. But I think this is my history. And Sarah, have I told you that story? No, I have not told my beloved niece that story. But here's the other thing. Two things. One, I called Ken, and I said, I have a document here that I want you to keep for me because I will lose it. And I want there to be a record about the power of women writing. And what that means. And you still have it. And that's a friendship, and that's a trust, and that's what an archivist does. And that's why I think the city has said to Ken Sanders, you can have this building that was our library because you are a living library. And that's where we hold our secrets. Here's the last part of the story. Before Hugh Pinnock, and I loved him, and our family loves him, and he has a great family. When he was dying, he called me and he said, will you come with Brooke and your dad? There's something I want to say to you. And another book had just come out called Leap, which my father will pay $1 to anyone who finishes it. And when we went, Hugh was upright, on oxygen, and he had that book in his hand, and it was completely marked and tagged. And he said, I want you to know how much I love this book, because what you've written about is the restoration of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And he was right, because it was about the restoration of a triptych, the Garden of Earthly Delights. We were raised in our family under heaven and hell. I didn't know the garden existed. That was kept from us. And I think what he was saying was, I see you. I know what you're writing. And I know where you come from. And keep going. Because that's how the land's going to be restored. That's how our spirituality can be redefined. And there's room for everyone. And that's what an apology looks like. That's what growth looks like. And I think if we can see past what is the obvious differences, then we truly meet. And that, again, was a Glorian moment. So I think with Glorians, at this point, I just turned 70. How do we pay attention? How do we see? How do we forgive? How do we stay brave? And how do we tell the truth of our lives, knowing that that which is most personal is most general? And I think that's what we're missing in our country right now. But it's coming back. It's returning. We're seeing it on the streets. We're seeing it in Utah around the lake. And we're seeing it on an evening like tonight, where we can laugh and cry and tell secrets and stories and remember our own.
Wow.
Thank you for asking the question.
I'm sorry I asked.
No, he's not.
On a lighter note, remember when you were up in the circle there in the old Museum of Natural History, and you brought some wild man to town with a movie. The movie is called Peacock's War, the grizzly bear man. And afterwards, I think you had him, there was some housing there that you put him up with. I don't remember much about that night, but that was the night you introduced me to Doug Peacock, a.k.a. George Washington Hayduke from the Monkey Ranch Gang.
This is actually a great story. I love Doug. He's like a brother, and we all are family. I was saying to Don Haig, who is a wonderful man, museum director, I said, you know, I was hiking with our family in Glacier, and I met this incredible man that loves grizzly bears, and he is a vet, and he's just amazing, and could we bring him, you know, to Kingsbury Hall, because I think everyone loves grizzly bears. And he goes, that sounds like a great idea. What's his name? And I said, Doug Peacock, he's incredible. The first thing, we packed the house, there were 2,000 people. The first thing, I didn't know Doug that well, you know. He stands up, and first of all, he says, I didn't have a sport coat, and I saw an old vet on the street, on Main Street, and asked him if I could borrow his jacket. So there was that, and then he said, well, I worked at the Grizzly Hilton, studying grizzly bears. He talked about being in Vietnam, 2 tours, amazing man. And he said, you know, let me just digress. I would like to take the Secretary of Interior, James Watt, to the Grizzly Hilton and stuff a tuna fish sandwich down his pants. And there was just total silence. And Don Haig turned around to me and he said, is this going to continue? And it did continue. But by the time it was over, people were on their, you know, standing up with the standing ovation, in love with grizzly bears, with this vet that won all of our hearts. And I just think that's, you know, it's all about friendship and meeting people on a trail and then devoting oneself. I will just tell one last story. Callie, one of my other nieces, we were together, and Brooke and I and Callie were meeting Doug at, do you remember, what was it called? Red Butte at Foothill? And all of a sudden I saw some people next door, next to the table, really worried. And Doug was being Doug, telling stories in wild, very colorful language. Callie was 10. And all of a sudden, I see these neighbors coming over and saying, Callie, would you like us to take you home to your family? And I think they thought that she had been kidnapped by, you know, Earth First environmentalists. And Callie, who was 10, said, no, I'm just fine. I am with family. And I thought, there's a future here. So, what time is it? I'm worried about people. May I?
So later that night,
I'm sorry.
I don't know where the bottle of vodka came from.
There was a bottle of vodka?
Oh, yes. And I think we broke into a soda pop machine.
Was I part of it?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Okay. I don't think I was.
Dougie and I, this is the first time I met Doug. We drank that entire bottle of vodka with orange soda pop. I have never drank orange soda pop or vodka since that night. And one last peacock story, please. Tell me the first time he offered, I think you and Brooke lived up Immigration Canyon, the first time he offered to cook for you. Every pot and pan in your kitchen was used and abused in the process.
There was spaghetti on the ceiling, that's for sure.
And there was 5 pounds of flour residue on every surface after the meal. How was the meal?
It was stupendous. Here's the last peacock story, and then I just want to close with one thing. And thank you for your patience. Doug and I were at that writers at work up in Park City, and it was a bad idea, but someone had us both being interviewed, and I said something that he didn't like, and he called me a bimbo on the radio station. He goes, "You're just a goddamn bimbo." And so I just took off my headphones and put them down and left. And I thought, it's over, but he had crossed the line. And I don't even remember what it was about. And then about a week later, a very, very tall person, like 6'9", about 300 pounds, knocked on the door with a huge hefty bag, you know, that you put your trash in. And he goes, "Are you Terry?" And I said, I think I am. And he goes, "Peace offering from Peacock." And he left. And I looked in, and it was completely filled with chanterelles and morels. That's what friendship looks like. You know? So.
You haven't lived until you've eaten Doug Peacock's slow elk stew. For those of you who know what that means. I got one last peacock story for you. You know, after Ed died, you know, Clark, Abby, his widow, Ed always wrote and told me all these stories about these places, and he never took me with him. So we got a trip together with Jack Leffler, Peacock and his kids, Clark and her babies, and my kids, and we did a San Juan River trip. And Doug Peacock brought a boat along that he called a dory. The only thing this boat had in common was a dory, is it was made out of wood. and you know, San Juan's pretty mellow raft. The government's about the only real one. This thing, and all these kids were really little. I had my big raft. My 2 kids were a little bit older than the Abby Peacock clan. So they all rode on my boats, and Rebecca Abby, this is my I've been called a lot of names over almost 75 years, but this is my favorite one. She dubbed me Captain Squeezebeard. I was the king of the mini pirates. And Peacock is rowing this boat down, and he's headed straight for the goddamn rock. I have never seen oars curl in half before without breaking. And of course he misses the rock. But Doug Peacock, in his speech, his mannerisms, he's always on the edge of disaster. But he always pulls it out. If you were lost anywhere in the world, and your goal, now I'm not saying this would be fun, it wouldn't be pleasant, it'd be god-awful, hurtful. But if your only goal was to get out alive, the person you would want next to you would be Douglas Arapaho Peacock.
Yeah, amen to that. Ken, I want to thank you for tonight. I want to thank you for the stories. I want to thank you for bringing us together. And I really want to thank each one of you for being here, for your patience, for your joy and laughter that we've shared. And I think that, again, in this time, if we can recommit ourselves to community, to our families, to each other, then we will get through this. And there is going to be a shift. And I think this is part of the shift in consciousness. And so I would argue that this is a time of Glorians, and they are reaching out to us, that we can recreate the world that we dream of. And I want to close just with the last section of the book. I think it's 6 paragraphs. And then just say again, it feels so good to be coming home. To be able to be in the West, to know the names of birds, to know the names of plants, to have community in the ways that we do, where we can howl louder and softer than anyone on the planet, both ranges, is a great gift. So I'm just going to close with these last thoughts. I'm shaking, so this says, I haven't read this before out loud. I am seeking a new language to help me name what I cannot define, like the Glorians, and all that is ineffable, driven by the beauty of Earth herself. But it is also true that in the act of naming, we are drawn closer to the edges of the unnameable, where all we feel and cannot articulate is reflected back to us in a state of loveliness. The burden I carry is knowing I will always fall short in the conveyance of beauty. And with time, I am less afraid of failing as an individual and more terrified of failing as one of 8 billion human beings, witnessing the mounting sorrows spanning the globe as we watch our planet burn. In my dream, I was standing in the ruins of Cassandra's Tower. In my life, I was standing in the Red Rock Desert of Utah and working as writer-in-residence at the Harvard Divinity School. In the vitality of the struggle, I found myself required to walk through shadows. And when I did, I saw we have to throw out what is dead in order to make room for what is alive. By reimagining home, we create a place and a peace for all we stand to gain, a livable future in a landscape of burning hearts that implores us to stay soft when things become hard and stay strong when things fall apart. I pray for the strength to embody change and to be explicit in what I love, where I wish to serve, and what I want to protect. The poet Jack Mueller writes, "What I can't change changes me." The Glorians are reaching out to us, inviting us to engage. They arrive unplanned, unearned, irrefutable. They are grace. We are dreamers, and I believe Earth is dreaming us into a new way of being. With Venus shining in the twilight of dawn as my witness, something deeper than hope is emerging. The coyote willow's magenta blossoms have just burst forth for the first time this year. Thank you.
If we have food and drink available back at the bookstore, all 3 levels, and Terry will be happy to talk with you, speak with you. Feel free to stop by. Thank you all.